Discover how one shy waitress exposed an incredible truth, transforming 12 lives forever. Emily wiped down the counter, the familiar clatter of dishes and the aroma of sizzling bacon swirling around her like a warm hug. She carefully poured fresh coffee into chipped mugs, each cup telling a story of struggle and survival in the bustling Hillcrest diner. At 24, Emily wore her dreams like a heavy coat, burdened by her mother's mounting medical bills and the constant hustle to provide for her younger siblings. But every face she saw familiar, weary, and hopeful filled her heart with resilience. One afternoon, as sunlight danced through the dusty windows, an elderly war veteran named Mr. Thompson gripped his coffee cup tightly, his voice barely above a whisper. "These bills, I don't know how much longer I can hold on," he confessed, a tremor of both fear and resolve in his voice. The air thickened with unspoken truths, as other patrons nodded knowingly, their own worries reflected in his somber eyes. Emily's chest tightened. A spark ignited within her, she felt a surge of courage she didn't know existed. She glanced around at her fellow regulars, the laid-off dad who used to own the local hardware store, the single mom juggling 2 jobs, and the waitress from 3 booths over who battled her own demons. Everyone was grappling with unseen burdens. It was time to give these voices a channel, to write their stories into the fabric of the community. And so began Emily's quest. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with newfound determination. Emily set up a fundraiser for Mr. Thompson, envisioning a network of support that would shine a light on the stories buried beneath the surface. But as the event neared, her family began to unravel with worry. "You're neglecting us," her brother shouted, hurt shadowing his face. They questioned her loyalty, the very foundation she had fought to keep intact seemed to thrum with a dangerous tension. But Emily refused to back down. She stood in front of town leaders, her voice trembling but loud enough to break through the noise. "We can't stay silent while our families suffer," she declared, eyes blazing with a mix of pain and hope. The diner became a tapestry of intertwined stories, a place where laughter and tears mingled as patrons rallied behind her cause. Each person gave a glimpse of their battle, and with every tale shared, hope resonated louder than before. Yet, just as victory seemed within reach, darkness loomed. She discovered that certain powers were working against them, determined to stifle their voices. Her heart raced. Emily found herself torn between 2 worlds, the family she loved and the community from which she drew strength. As the air thickened with uncertainty and tension in the diner grew palpable, she faced an impossible choice. Would she sacrifice her dreams for family ties, or would she stand firm in her fight for justice? The silence clung to the walls, leaving Emily breathless and searching for answers. The fight for one's dignity had just begun, and she knew, deep down, the road ahead would demand everything she had. Emily's heart pounded as she stood at the crossroads of choice, the weight of her family's expectations pressing down like a leaden blanket. Thoughts spun in her mind, an electric mix of fear and resolve, highlighting the stakes looming ahead. She could almost hear the ticking clock in the diner, each tick echoing her urgency as patrons moved around her, wrapped up in their own lives. She took a deep breath and scanned the room. Mr. Thompson, frazzled yet grateful, the dad nervously tapping his fingers against the table, the waitress who had taken a chance to let others see her pain. They were counting on her, and she couldn't let their stories die in silence. "Excuse me," Emily called out, her voice steadier than she felt. "Can everyone gather for a moment? I need to share something important with you." The clatter of plates faded, and weary faces turned towards her. As they settled, she continued, "I know we've all been through so much. This fundraiser isn't just for Mr. Thompson, it's for all of us. We need to stand together. She felt her voice grow stronger with every word. If we unite, we can shed light on the struggles many of us face and perhaps change our community for the better. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. A sense of community sparked, filling the air with a palpable energy. For a moment, she felt invincible, as if the very foundations of her burden had shifted. Then the door swung open violently, shattering the moment. In strode Marcus, a local real estate mogul Emily had only seen in passing, his presence filling the diner like a thunderstorm. "What is all this?" he barked, eyes narrowing at the gathering. The once warm atmosphere turned cold. Emily felt her stomach drop. She had read about Marcus's plans to turn the diner into a high-rise, dismissing the sentiments of the people who called this place home. Suddenly, her courage wavered under his piercing gaze. "This," she stammered, "is about building a community, about helping each other." He chuckled, a sound devoid of kindness. "Community? Help? This is a business opportunity, and you're just kids playing charity." His words cut through her like a knife. "You think you can change anything with a few stories? Pathetic." The words hung heavy in the air as shock registered on several faces. Emily felt small again, the doubt creeping back in. But looking around, she saw the glimmers of resilience in the eyes of her patrons. She refused to let Marcus steal their light. "Maybe we can't change everything," she said defiantly, feigning confidence. "But we can start to build a support network here. Together." Silence enveloped the diner. Marcus's face twisted in disbelief, then, without further comment, he turned on his heel and stormed out, the door slamming behind him. For a heartbeat, Emily stood frozen. Then Mr. Thompson's voice rose above the stillness. "You have more courage than most," he said, and she felt warmth flood back into the room. Others chimed in with their own stories of struggle against the tide of indifference. But as momentum swelled around her, a knot formed in her stomach, an uneasy feeling that Marcus's departure was only a temporary reprieve. The fight was far from over. The real battle lay just ahead, where unseen forces lurked, ready to crush their spark of hope. Determined to build on that hope, Emily knew she had to prepare for whatever came next. As the diner buzzed with the renewed sense of purpose, she felt a pulse of energy within her, urging her forward. Would the community hold the line against those who wanted to silence them? Emily's heart raced anew. She sensed this was merely the beginning of something bigger, an awakening that would change not only her life but the very fabric of Hillcrest. Tomorrow would bring new struggles, and she had to be ready. Her mind raced with questions: could they truly brave the storm? And would she find allies in unexpected places? As she locked eyes with her fellow patrons, a surge of determination coursed through her. She steeled herself for the fight ahead, realizing her greatest strength might not only be her voice but the chorus of others joining in. But something deeper nagged at her. She couldn't shake the feeling that the most significant challenge was yet to be revealed. The morning sun poured through the diner's windows, scattering light across the worn booths. Emily arrived early, her stomach a knot of excitement and anxiety. She had spent the night dreaming up plans, envisioning each detail of the fundraiser. But today, her dreams felt more fragile than ever, as if they could shatter at any moment. She wiped down tables, her movements mechanical as she replayed Marcus's words in her mind. Just kids playing charity. The thought ignited a fire inside her. He didn't understand. It wasn't just about the fundraiser, it was about hope. It was about coming together as a community. And while Marcus may have been powerful, she felt that power could never overshadow the resilience of the people who walked through the diner's doors. One by one, familiar faces began to trickle in. Mr. Thompson took his usual seat, eyes bright with a determination that matched Emily's. The nervous dad followed, bringing his daughters who giggled at their tired father. Even the waitress, whom Emily discovered was named Sarah, came in earlier than usual, carrying a box of freshly baked pastries. Emily felt a warm rush. Somehow, they all seemed to understand what was at stake. "Hey, Sarah," Emily called out, her voice lifting with genuine excitement. "Thanks for bringing these. They look amazing. Thought they'd add a touch of sweetness to our day," Sarah replied with a smile, her voice soft yet hopeful. "We need all the sweetness we can get." In that moment, surrounded by kindred spirits, Emily sensed a shift in the atmosphere. It wasn't just about surviving anymore, it was about thriving and fighting back. As the diner's regulars settled into their seats, Emily stood before them, her heart thumping. "Thank you all for being here. I know there's a lot against us." A hush fell over the room, her words hanging in the air. "But I believe together, we can make a difference. Each of you has a story, and those stories matter." Nods of agreement rippled through the crowd. Encouraged, she continued. "Let us share our struggles and our dreams. Let us show Marcus that we're not just kids, we're a community." With newfound fervor, they began sharing their experiences, stories pouring forth like coffee from a well-used pot. Wrapped in tales of loss, hope, and resilience, the diner transformed into a sanctuary. Emily felt her worries fading. Everyone was embracing vulnerability, revealing their heart stories of job losses, sick family members, and dreams deferred. In the corner, a soft voice stood out. It was an older woman, her face lined with years of hardship. "You know, I used to run a shop down the street. My husband and I poured our lives into it. Losing it felt like losing a part of me. We can't let that happen, not anymore," Emily said, her voice filled with determination. "We can fight back and create something new together." The energy was palpable. It wasn't just a fundraiser they were preparing for, it was a movement. Emily glanced at the clock, feeling time slip away, and she knew they needed to act fast. But as engaging as the moment was, worry still nagged at her. They were gathering strength, but there were walls to break, there were challenges they hadn't yet faced. As their shared stories spilled out, a sudden realization hit her how different things were now, how this contagious spirit of unity could indeed be their most potent weapon. "Let us show Hillcrest what we're made of," she shouted, the cheers ringing through the diner as they rallied around a common goal. Yet, in the back of her mind, a question lingered. Would their unity be enough when Marcus hit back with all his might? Tension hung thick in the air, she could feel it within her. What if the battle was more than just a fundraiser? What if the heart of Hillcrest was truly at stake? As they painted a picture of hope, she couldn't shake the feeling that their victory depended on a truth yet to be uncovered. Emily took a deep breath as the energy in the diner swirled around her. It was intoxicating, but with it came the creeping doubt that had been shadowing her since Marcus's patronizing dismissal. She felt a surge of determination, but the question loomed like a storm cloud: could they actually rally the community in the face of such overwhelming odds? The clock ticked mercilessly, urging her to shift momentum. "All right, everyone. Let us get to work. We've got ideas, stories, and a lot of heart," she said, trying to maintain the excitement she sensed in the air. "Do we have a plan for distributing flyers?" Sarah chimed in, enthusiasm shining in her eyes. Emily nodded, grateful for the lifeline. "Absolutely. Let us split into groups. Some can go door to door, and others can hit the local businesses. I believe everyone has a reason to fight for this." As they began to organize, a sense of purpose filled the room. They gathered at tables, writing down names and formulating a checklist. Emily overheard snippets of conversation, old friends catching up, strangers connecting over shared struggles. The simple act of being together, of pooling their stories, stitched a patchwork of solidarity. Mr. Thompson, who Emily knew as the retired schoolteacher, stepped forward with a glint of excitement in his eyes. "I can teach a workshop on organizing events. I've done this before. We can use my garage as a planning hub every evening this week." The room erupted in cheers, and Emily felt the tides turning. "Let me help with social media," shouted a college student who often came in for coffee. "I can spread the word online, reach out to people outside our neighborhood." "Perfect." Emily grinned. "With everyone's passion, we might just blow Marcus's expectations out of the water." With plans solidified, they broke into groups. Emily jumped from one gathering to the next, her energy infectious, fueling the fire of their mission. But amidst the laughter and chatter, an uneasy feeling still gnawed at her heart. That night, after the meeting wrapped up, Emily found a quiet moment on the diner's back steps. She looked out at the parking lot, rugged but filled with potential. It wasn't just about the fundraiser, it was about confidence, belief, and the power of the unseen, just like Sarah's pastries, bringing a touch of sweetness to their cause. Suddenly, she noticed Sarah walking towards her. "Need a moment?" she asked, her voice gentle yet knowing. "Just thinking," Emily replied, grateful for her company. "It feels so real now, doesn't it? Yet, what if Marcus decides to fight us? What if it all backfires?" "I get that fear," Sarah said, crossing her arms. "But you're not just fighting for the fundraiser. You're building something bigger. Even if they push back, we can't forget the strength we've found together." Emily nodded, her heart swelling. Sarah had a way of voicing what everyone felt but couldn't express. "You're right. Their power doesn't compare to what we've created here." Just then, a sudden memory blurred through Emily's mind. A whisper of something eluded her, a truth she had yet to grasp. What if there's more to this? What if she trailed off, the weight of the realization resting heavily on her? A sudden shout interrupted, drawing their attention back inside. "Hey! You all need to see this." Emily and Sarah rushed back into the diner, curiosity piqued. A few of the neighborhood residents were gathered around a phone, eyes wide. "What is going on?" Emily asked as she squeezed in closer. "Just watch," one man said, excitement spilling over in his voice. As the video played, her heart raced. It was about Marcus, something shocking that could fundamentally change everything they were working for. What she didn't expect was how one shy waitress's observation would set off a chain of events that could destroy the veneer of power Marcus wielded over them all. The diner buzzed with anticipation, and Emily squeezed between the crowd, trying to catch a glimpse of the screen. The video unfolded like a poorly written thriller, with shaky shots broadcasting Marcus at a community fundraiser from 2 years prior. He was laughing, charming the crowd, but something in his eyes hinted at a darker agenda. "Look!" Sarah exclaimed, pointing at a moment where Marcus glanced away from the camera. "That's when he pocketed some money. Did you see that? He just took it." Emily's heart raced. Is that real?" "Yes," shouted someone from the back. "I was there. I saw it." As the video looped, whispers erupted around the room, wading through disbelief and anger. One woman slammed her hand on the table. "He's been lying to us all this time." "I never liked him," an older gentleman chimed in, shaking his head. Something always seemed off about that man. The realization washed over Emily. This wasn't just a moment caught on tape, this was a turning point. The once unquestionable authority of Marcus was cracking, and with each view of that clip, a sense of unity sparked within the crowd. Hope fluttered like a flag in a storm. Sarah grasped Emily's arm. "We need to act on this. If we're going to get the community behind us, now's the time." Emily nodded, feeling a familiar fire ignite in her chest. She glanced at the faces around her, excitement mixed with anger, curiosity with determination. "How can we release this footage? We need to expose the truth." Mr. Thompson raised his hand. "I have connections with the local news. If we get this footage in front of them, it will spill into the wider community. Let us do it." Emily shouted, her voice rising above the chatter. Her enthusiasm broke the last remnants of fear that had clung to her like a shadow. If we expose Marcus, we can inspire others to take charge of their stories, too. The room erupted in applause and shouts of agreement. Emily's heart swelled. She could almost feel the strength of her community wrapping around her like a warm embrace. Amidst the applause, a hesitant voice broke through. Laura, the shy waitress from before, stepped forward, her eyes wide. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I thought you all deserved to know who you're dealing with. Emily stepped closer to Laura, resting a hand on her shoulder. What you did took real courage. Look how it's changed everything. The crowd erupted with cheers for Laura, lifting her spirits as much as they did his own. It was a powerful moment, not just for Laura, but for everyone. Their collective power was palpable now. It was more than a fundraiser, it was a movement. But as the excitement swirled, a darker thought began to creep in. What if Marcus had something up his sleeve? Emily's mind raced. If he was capable of deceiving them all this time, what other secrets lay hidden beneath his polished exterior? Let us get to work tonight and not waste this momentum, Emily said, her voice steady even as uncertainty whirlpooled inside her. We need to act fast before he tries to stop us. Going back to the drawing board with renewed energy, they brainstormed ideas, carved out roles, and prepped for a bigger discussion at the local news station. As they began to disperse, Sarah caught Emily's eye. Are you sure about this, Em? If we're really going to go after him, we need a solid plan. Emily nodded slowly. She felt the stakes rising, like a wave ready to crash. We will be ready. I can't shake the feeling that we're on the edge of something huge. But we need to keep a lookout. This isn't just about the truth anymore, there's a risk. Taking a deep breath, she pushed the unease aside. Let us show Marcus he can't silence us. But just as they were about to set their plans in motion, Emily noticed someone lurking by the entrance. The familiar silhouette made her heart skip a beat. Marcus was there, watching. And she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The atmosphere thickened as Marcus stood by the entrance, his presence an icy wave that cut through the warmth of the crowd. Emily's breath hitched in her throat. She could feel the fear wash over the room like a tide. The cheers faded, replaced by a whisper of uncertainty. His gaze roamed the faces, settling on hers, and for a moment, she felt exposed, like a deer in headlights. Okay, everyone, Emily called out, forcing her voice to carry strength. Let us not let fear take hold. We've got a plan, and we need to stick together. Marcus took a step forward, his brow furrowed, a quick smile plastered on his face that didn't reach his eyes. What is going on here? I heard some commotion and thought I'd check it out. He surveyed the gathering crowd, his expression an odd mix of concern and careful calculation. The crowd shifted, uncertain of how to respond. Emily took a step forward, feeling the eyes of her friends on her, ready to support her. We're just having a little meeting about community matters, Marcus. You know how important it is for us to discuss the well-being of our town. With a slight tilt of his head, Marcus's smile faltered. Is that so? He replied, his tone smooth, yet laced with an edge. I hope you're not getting caught up in those ridiculous rumors. You know they can be dangerous to all of us. Emily held his gaze, feeling the weight of the moment. She could sense Marcus's power, but she also knew she had the truth on her side. We're just seeking accountability. Don't you agree that every member of the community should be held to the same standards? The words slipped out before she could second-guess herself. With a shrug, Marcus stepped a little further inside, fortifying his position. Accountability? Sometimes it's just hearsay, Emily. Sometimes, stories can be twisted. Just like a video, you can edit it to say whatever you want. Don't let anyone fool you. A murmur rippled through the crowd, confusion mingling with anger. Emily looked between Marcus and her friends, they echoed her concern, their faces tight with anxiety. Was he really trying to assert control? Before she could stop herself, Sarah blurted, "You can't manipulate the truth, Marcus. We've seen the footage. You can't hide behind lies anymore." Marcus's eyes narrowed, the once charming smile crumbling into something menacing. "You think you're clever, don't you? But you have no idea what you're playing with." Laura, emboldened by the moment, stepped forward too. "We're playing with people's lives, Marcus. You've played us all for fools long enough." "Careful, Laura," he warned, voice low. "No one likes a whistleblower. You really think this will end well for you?" The tension was palpable, the room caught between fury and disbelief. Emily's heart raced, she could almost feel the pulse of the crowd as they drew closer together, feeding off each other's courage. "It's about time we stand up," she declared, deciding to push ahead. "If you want to do right by the community, we will. Together." But Marcus, unfazed, only smirked. "Then perhaps I should remind you that power always has a way of silencing the dissenters. You're playing a dangerous game." Gulping, Emily felt her resolve waver for a split second. Was there an ounce of truth in his words? The air crackled with a mix of fear and defiance. The elders in the back shifted uneasily. "We know what you've done, Marcus," one said, voice strong. "And we will not be afraid of you anymore." As the room erupted in a chorus of agreement, Emily realized they had reached a tipping point. But just then, something unexpected happened. Marcus turned on his heels and retreated to the door, pausing briefly before leaving. "You'll regret this," he called, voice echoing like a long-lost threat. Watching him vanish into the night, Emily's heart lurched. What would he do next? "This is just the beginning," Sarah said, squeezing Emily's hand. "We have to be ready for anything." Emily nodded, a mix of hope and dread swirling within her. The fight wasn't over, and the battle may have just begun. But deep down, an unsettling thought lingered, was Marcus really gone for good? Or would he return with a vengeance? The wind howled outside, fingers of chill creeping through the cracks of the old community hall. Emily could feel the tension still hanging in the air like a thick fog, even as the crowd began to settle down. They hadn't come here planning to confront Marcus, but they had crossed a line together. And now they were all riding a wave of uncertainty. Did he really just threaten us? Laura whispered as she caught Emily's eye. There was a mixture of fear and disbelief in her voice, the kind that only came from moments of high drama. Emily nodded slowly, thoughts racing. "We knew he wasn't going to back down easily. But now we've shown him we won't go quietly." Her heart pounded, but courage surged with each word. "Maybe that'll wake others up," Sarah spoke up, her voice a hopeful spark in the dark. "If we can pull more people in, Marcus won't stand a chance." The crowd began to murmur in agreement, and the spark ignited into flames. Emily lifted her chin, feeling a strange sense of empowerment. "We need to organize, to connect with the people who've stayed silent for too long. We can hold a rally," someone suggested from the back. The thought sent a ripple of excitement through the room. "A rally would be a great start," Laura added with a nod. "But we have to be strategic, keep things safe. We can't give Marcus more reason to retaliate." As discussions erupted, Emily's heart swelled. The room buzzed with new ideas, plans for flyers, locations, and ways to gather support. It felt electric, the hope softening the shadows of fear. For the first time, they were no longer mere townsfolk, they were a community, bound by more than just shared history. But just as they were building momentum, a cell phone rang loudly, cutting through the din. It belonged to one of the elders, and when he answered, Emily could see his face fall. His lips quickly turned into a tight line. "What is it?" she asked, breathless as he ended the call. With a heavy sigh, he looked at the crowd. "That was the police. Marcus has accused us of inciting unrest. They want to talk to some of us tonight." Silence fell. The blood drained from Emily's face. "Wait, what does that mean?" Sarah asked, panic in her voice. "It means," the elder hesitated, clearly troubled, "that Marcus isn't just making empty threats. He's reached out to the authorities. We have to tread carefully." A wave of anxiety swept through the crowd, uncertainty replacing earlier courage. Just as Emily felt her chest tighten, a voice broke through the unease. "If we don't stand together now, we might never stand a chance." It was Laura's unwavering tone, cutting like a knife. "We can't let fear silence us. We have to make sure everyone knows this isn't just about us anymore, this is about what's right." As the murmurs of agreement swelled, Emily felt a flicker of determination return. "Exactly. We don't have to fight alone. We reach out, engage them peacefully. If he thinks he can silence us with fear, he's wrong." But as they rallied back together, an icy swirl of anxiety clawed at Emily's gut. "Are we really prepared for this?" she thought, unwilling to voice her doubt. Marcus was a relentless opponent, and the path ahead was fraught with unpredictable dangers. She glanced around at the determined faces of her friends. They were ready to face whatever came next. Emily took a deep breath, ready to challenge the storm ahead. But just as she thought she had a grip, an alarming phone notification buzzed loudly. The screen lit up with an announcement: "Marcus intends to make a public statement tomorrow." This was it. The moment where everything could change, for better or worse. "Let us show him we're not afraid," Emily declared, the words ringing in her ears. "Together, we can confront the truth." What happened next would determine the future of their town and their fight for justice. Would they truly be ready for the flood of consequences Marcus would unleash? The night seemed to stretch endlessly as Emily lay awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling with swirling thoughts. What had started as a simple community meeting had escalated into a battle for their rights, their voices drowned out by the oppressive weight of fear. The news of Marcus's impending public statement gnawed at her. What would he say? Would he twist the truth to serve his agenda, painting them as troublemakers in front of the entire town? Her phone buzzed, snapping her from her thoughts. It was a message from Laura. "Are you coming to the meeting tomorrow? We need everyone." Despite the lingering doubt, Emily felt a rush of adrenaline. "Yes," she typed back, "absolutely. We need to be united." In the morning, the air was thick, anticipation crackling like static against her skin. As she stepped outside, she was struck by the sight of her neighbors beginning to gather at the community center. Friends, families, even strangers wore grim expressions, yet the determination in their eyes shone brighter than any apprehension. Emily arrived early, and the room slowly filled up. Each familiar face brought with it a renewed sense of hope. Sarah was distributing flyers, filled with messages of solidarity and calls for action. "This is our time," Sarah smiled, handing Emily a stack of papers. "We're not just making noise, we're making a difference." Those words hung in the air like a promise. Emily took a deep breath, her nerves settling and being replaced by something stronger resolve. She caught sight of Laura at the front, readying her notes, her face a mask of focus. The two of them locked eyes, and a silent understanding passed between them. They were in this together. When the clock struck 2, the hall filled with murmurs as people took their seats. The atmosphere crackled with tension. They all knew Marcus would be there soon, his charismatic persona the smooth icing on the bitter cake of oppression. As if on cue, the door swung open, and Marcus strode in, radiating confidence. He glanced at the crowd, a smirk curling at the corners of his mouth. "So many familiar faces here to witness change," he began, his voice smooth as silk. "But what you don't realize is that change isn't always for the better." Emily's stomach churned as he continued, weaving a tale that painted his every action as benevolent, while they the citizens were painted as rabble-rousers. It infuriated her. How could he spin their fight for justice into a narrative that made them appear reckless? But just as Marcus was about to deliver his closing remarks, a fist pounded against a table at the back. It was Daniel, another community member who had been silenced by fear for too long. "You don't get to write our story, Marcus. We're here to tell our own, and we won't live by your lies." The room erupted into applause, and Emily felt a wave of disbelief wash over her. Daniel had always been quiet, yet here he was, challenging Marcus head-on. "Exactly," Laura cried, joining in. "Together, we have a voice. Together, we are the truth." As the cheers swelled around her, Emily felt strength building not just inside her, but in every person present. This was it, this was their revolution. The energy in the room shifted from fear to empowerment. But just then, a sharp whistle broke through the cheers. The police, alerted to the rising tensions, entered the room in pairs. Fear prickled back into the crowd, their earlier courage wavering as they exchanged glances of concern. Would this be the end of their moment? As the atmosphere shifted, Emily's heart raced. Would they stand firm, or would the fear of consequence silence them once more? Only time would tell, but she felt the weight of the future resting on her shoulders. They were in the eye of the storm, and what lay ahead could change everything. Are we ready to stand our ground? Emily thought, looking around at her friends. She knew they had come too far to turn back now. The tension surged as the police officers surveyed the room, their expressions unreadable. Emily could feel body heat radiating around her. The crowd was alive, yet uncertainty crept in. Who would dare to act next? She glanced at Laura, who stood resolute, and Daniel, who still clutched the edge of the table, drawing strength from the murmurs of support that rippled through the room. "Everyone, please remain calm," one of the officers said, raising his hands in a gesture meant to capture attention amidst the noise. "We're here to ensure that things stay peaceful. There are rules to follow. We ask that you respect the law." Nobody moved. Emily felt her own pulse quicken. In this moment, the desire for change burned brighter than any fear of authority. She wanted to scream, to call out that they had every right to voice their grievances. Instead, she stood silently, waiting. Marcus seized the moment, his voice piercing through the crowd. "See? They're here to help you. To contain chaos." He gestured grandly, aiming to manipulate the narrative again. "It's only natural that we prioritize safety over anarchy." Emily fought the surge of anger bubbling inside. How could he equate their struggle for justice with chaos? Just then, a soft voice broke through her thoughts. "Emily," Laura murmured, nudging her shoulder. "You need to speak. It's time." A rush of fear shot through her veins, but with it came an overwhelming wave of courage. The crowd was listening, they were ready. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, her heart hammering against her ribcage. "Marcus," she started, her voice trembling but clear. "You call it chaos, but we call it hope. Hope for a future where our rights aren't negotiated. Where we are not just a footnote in your grand story." Cheers erupted from the crowd, sparking a fire in Emily's belly. "We're not looking for trouble, we seek fairness. You speak of change, yet you derive your power from our silence." Emily's words drew more supportive cries. "Let us be loud." Someone yelled. "We won't back down." With every sentence, she dug deeper into the well of shared frustrations and dreams. "We are not alone. Together, we are stronger than your lies." She extended her arm, welcoming the support of her neighbors and friends. "In this room, we write our story. You don't have that power anymore." The atmosphere crackled with energy as she concluded, her heart racing. Emily caught sight of a mother in the corner, tears streaming down her face, a glimmer of hope taking root. "Can you see? This isn't just about us. It's about our children. The kind of world we leave behind." At that moment, another hand shot up in the crowd. It was Sarah, unafraid now. "I want to speak." she proclaimed, stepping beside Emily. "This is our town. Our future." The police, growing uneasy, exchanged glances. It was clear they hadn't anticipated this surge of collective courage. But just as Sarah began to voice her thoughts, a loud crash erupted from outside. Glass shattered, the sound like a thunderclap across the tension-thick air. All heads turned toward the exit. "What was that?" a voice gasped from the back. Emily's gut churned as a sense of dread seeped in. Were they losing control? Was this the breaking point? The police charged toward the door, ready to take action, leaving Emily wanting to follow. But at what cost? She stood at the center of it all, the chaos of voices swirling around her. This was a defining moment. She sensed the collective heartbeat of the crowd, resonating with every pulse of fear and defiance. What had just begun as a turning point could spiral into something bigger, and unforeseen consequences lurked at the edges. Emily's heart beat wildly. Would they let fear dictate their actions, or embrace the fight? Suddenly, amidst the chaos, she realized that the fight didn't just belong to them, it was their legacy. The door wasn't just opening on a confrontation, it was a gateway to a new chapter in their fight for justice. What lies beyond that door could change everything, she thought. But would they be ready to face whatever came next? The crowd's breath caught in unison as they listened to the chaos erupting outside. Emily's heart raced, the clamor sending adrenaline coursing through her veins. She couldn't help but wonder if this was the moment everything had been leading to, a defining moment that would shape the future of Hillcrest. The officers rushed toward the door, their faces taut with urgency. "Stay here." One barked, but Emily felt the pull of the masses, a gravitational force of shared purpose. They weren't just spectators, they were a tidal wave of hope. "I'm not letting fear divide us," she thought, and stepped forward. "We need to stay together. This is about more than just us, it's about our future. We are the heartbeat of this community." As she spoke, Laura and Sarah joined her side, their voices intertwining with hers, creating a powerful chorus. Together, they rallied, their hands raised high, catching the resolve of those around them. Slowly but surely, people began to rise, hearts igniting with the fire of solidarity. Then, with a resounding crash, the door swung wide open, revealing chaos outside, a riot of confusion and protests. But as the officers took position, something unexpected happened. The onlookers didn't flee in panic, instead, they stood their ground. The defining moment had turned into an opportunity, an awakening. "Enough!" Emily shouted, her voice breaking through the noise. "We are not angry mobs. We are neighbors, friends, and family, united for a common cause. We won't let Marcus or anyone take that away from us." A chorus of agreement erupted, rippling through the crowd like wildfire. Emily could feel the energy shift. People stood taller, their fear melted into fierce determination. A unified front had formed right before her eyes, and the small, cramped hall felt more like a gathering of warriors ready to face a storm. Stepping outside, she could see the police forming a line against a cadre of local protesters, but the air buzzed with newfound hope. The crowd began chanting, their voices layering with Emily's words as they joined in the fight. The fear that had gripped them was now replaced by empowerment. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, she spotted Marcus, lurking at the edge, watching with a mix of disdain and disbelief. His confident facade cracked, and fear flickered in his eyes for the first time. For him, the control he thought he had was slipping away, like water through his fingers. "Let us take it back," Emily shouted, her voice rising above the chants. "Our community needs to know the truth. Let us turn this moment into something bigger than any one of us." In that instant, under the sunlight blazing down, something miraculous happened. A swell of movement surged forward. Local residents, those who had previously felt silenced, now stepped into the light. Their faces were set with determination, each one a part of the awakening Emily had envisioned. They marched toward Marcus, a united front, voices as one. "You can't silence us," echoed through the crowd as they closed the distance. "We won. Back down." Emily felt hope flooding her heart like a warm wave as they stood firm. This felt right. They were not just a town, they were family. They belonged to one another, and together they were unstoppable. The police stood by, uncertainty painted on their faces, knowing they were outmatched by the sheer force of community spirit that had risen that day. Onlookers snapped pictures, and the crowd's energy flowed freely, unstoppable. "Marcus!" Emily called out, locking eyes with him. "You thought you could divide us, but look at what you've done. You ignited a fire that has awakened true strength." At that moment, the air shifted. Marcus's bravado cracked, revealing a hint of desperation. "This is just a temporary illusion." He shot back, trying to regain control over the message. But it was too late. Emily felt the tide turning against him. "We are here for each other," she insisted, her voice soaring. "We will share our stories to ignite change. No more secrets, no more lies." Suddenly, they burst into cheers, remolding their fear into a battle cry. People reached for one another, hands joining, hearts intertwining, and together, they built a wall of unity that Marcus could not breach. As the crowd pressed on, Emily looked around, catching the eyes of those she had fought alongside, the diner patrons, the everyday heroes, those who deserved their community back. They were transformed, the whispers of their new narrative stronger than ever before. And just then, Emily saw Mr. Thompson step forward. He raised his voice, aged yet regal, blending into the core of the mass. "This is our town. Our struggle. If we press forward as one, they will hear us, and the walls of indifference will crumble." The chants grew louder, overtaking Marcus's retreating figure. "We fight for community, for truth, for each other," floated through the air like a rallying anthem. It resonated deeply, like a heartbeat, a collective pulse of resilience that would not be swayed by threats or greed. Emily felt the strength emanating from her friends and neighbors. This was their moment, their stand, their new reality. The fight for justice had blossomed into a movement, and they would never let go. With renewed vigor, they pressed onward, fueled by unity and purpose. Today was not just a fight against Marcus, it was a declaration of what they truly stood for: a community that thrived on connection, kindness, and shared dreams. And that realization filled Emily's heart with unshakable strength. They would forge a new path, hand in hand, ready to change the narrative of Hillcrest forever. Now it was time to share their triumph with the world, to inspire those still holding back, and take action against injustice. So, to you, the readers watching this incredible transformation unfold, this is your moment. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread hope. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, we can inspire change. You need to show your support now, because only true fans understand the power of community and standing together.